Guys, welcome back to Everything Engines. Today I'm unfortunately not happy to be making this video, but hopefully this video will be able to teach someone out there that's having the same problem how to fix it. Very quick and simple. There's not many videos on YouTube about this, I don't think. So we have the lawnmower in here today. It blew a head gasket, so it's been making really loud, like popping and banging kind of noises, like sounded really echoey out the muffler and just loud in general. And the head gasket is blown. My dad filmed a video of it running, and you could see fire coming out in between where the gasket is. The engine that is on the lawnmower is a Kohler 24 horsepower 7000 series. That is the spec number. Starting with taking this cover off. This is the intake and air filter. We're not going to do anything with that yet. At first we thought it was the exhaust gasket, but we fixed those and it sounded the exact same. It is leaking oil down the side of the valve cover over here. And this valve cover is completely dry. So I thought it was the gasket to the valve cover over here, but we looked at it yesterday and I'm pretty sure it's not. So to take this cover off, there's going to be 4 8mm bolts. One right there near the valve cover, and one right behind the seat over here. Seat out of the way. It's going to be these bolts back here, and both bolts on either side. One near the fuel pump right there. Alright, so all the bolts are taken out, so this should just pop up now, I believe. I may have to loosen this actually. So there's 3 bolts inside of here actually. So it's gonna be a total of 7 8mm bolts. There's 3 inside of where the air filter is that you're gonna have to pop off as well. And then this whole thing should come off. Alright, we're taking the 3 bolts out of here on the inside. Now this whole thing should just pop right off. Alright, so this is popped off. This actually stays in place, but we've popped this cover off finally. The hoses are still connected to the vent. The vent down here that connects to the valve cover right there, still connected, but that's not gonna matter because we don't need to work on this head. We just need to work on the left one over here. So we got this out of the way. You can see all that nasty gunk and grass and all that in there. You're gonna want to clean all that out, because that's going to prevent the motor from cooling down. And if the motor gets too hot, that could be why the gasket blew in the first place. I think it's going to be easier to take off this heat shield first before we start cleaning anything. And so right underneath of the bottom bolt on the valve cover, if you get up under here, you'll see the exhaust bolt, the exhaust flange with the bolts on it, and then you'll see this bolt back here for the heat shield. That bolt off the bottom for the heat shield, which was located right about there in the middle between that bolt and the flange. And the second bolt is going to be right up here on top, right beside the ignition coil and the flywheel. And guys, this is going to be your last bolt for this heat shield. This one right above the valve cover, connecting to this little arm. Unplug your spark plug cap. Set this aside. Cover should pop off now. Remove that, and it's just pinched behind there. It's just folded back there, so just pull this back and then up. You might have to loosen that other bolt, honestly, but just go ahead and loosen that other bolt just a smidge. and then that should pop right off. And it looks like we are actually going to need to pop out that other bolt on this little arm right here. It's just a 10mm bolt right there, no biggie. All right, now that we have the heat shield taken off, we can actually see the cylinder, the head of the motor with the gasket in the middle right there. You can kind of see it. Next step's gonna be to clean all this nasty grass and stuff out. Again, that's gonna prevent the motor from staying cool, because these engines are air cooled, so these fins allow air in the middle of them and keep it cool. And if all this debris is in here, it's not gonna do that, so it's very important to clean all that out. All right guys, next step, we're gonna take off this intake manifold so that we have our can free up our ports and the head can slide off. Probably gonna have to do the same thing with the exhaust, but I might be able to get away with leaving the exhaust on, but we'll find out. So it seems like the bolts are out, it's not moving, so it seems like this is all one piece, and the other intake manifold is holding this one pretty tight. So we're gonna just undo both sides of the manifold, take the whole entire thing off. All right, once you undo both of these intake manifold bolts, right down there and right here, this whole thing will actually just come loose. To make sure you don't lose any gaskets or anything. It seems like mine or actually I think I don't know if there are any gaskets. They might be already like a part of this big piece right here built into it. But so there's that. The head or the intake is separate from the head now, so that's all we really needed was that separation. So now we can just kind of let this sit loose like that, and so just give us enough room to pull the head off. I think we can finally take this head off. These motors are kind of just like the Predator motors. If you're familiar with the videos that I've posted in the past, or already familiar with Predator motors in general, there's two head bolts on either side of the spark plug, and then there's two head bolts inside of the actual valve cover, and I'll show you that in a minute. And before you undo these two head bolts on either side of that spark plug, we're gonna go ahead and take this valve cover off first, so that we can just get that out of the way and have all four bolts exposed before we loosen those two. And as you can see, these bits look a little bit different. The valve cover bolts are gonna be a T30 Torx bit. They kind of look like a star right there. If you don't know what a Torx bit is, it's like a star pattern, kind of. So this is what the bit is gonna look like to get the valve cover off. It's got that little star shape to it. It's a Torx bit. You can see right here, the size is T30 right there. And we're gonna go pop this bad boy off. I also recommend getting like a cup or maybe an oil pan or something when you're taking off this valve cover, just because oil likes to sit up inside of the valve cover after the engine runs, and as soon as you pop this off, oil will tend to splatter everywhere down here, so just be mindful of that. I already messed up and put the cup there a little late, as you can see. It's just sitting in the oil, but took almost all the bolts out, but then it popped loose. That's why there's oil on the floor before the cup. Just bolt back in it just to keep it cracked. I'm gonna let it leak out. As you can see, like if I wiggle it around, so I'm gonna just let that drain for a second, and we can go ahead and actually just take the valve cover loose, but it's gonna spill a little bit of oil, just be aware of that. And as you're taking this valve cover off, you can try and like lean it backwards like that to catch some of the oil from spilling out, because a lot of it's gonna be sitting down in the valve cover like that, as you can see right there. So just tilt it back to prevent it from spilling as much. If you've been to this channel before and you're familiar with the mini bike build videos and all that, hopefully you already have a decent understanding of small engines from the videos on my channel so far. But yeah, this is basically just like the Predator. Those are your other two head bolts that I was talking about. You can see one right there and another down there. And then the third and fourth one are on the outside. So we're gonna go ahead and get those all popped off now. And then we can go ahead and slide this head off and see how that gasket is looking. Got these two bolts popped out. Now to pop off. Now it's time to pop off the ones that are inside the valve cover. Okay guys, all four head bolts are out. Now it's time to pull this head off and see what we are working with. Okay, so I tried hitting it with a mallet to break it loose and it still doesn't seem like it wants to come off. But I took a look and it looks like under here you have your exhaust, obviously. But then it looks like this linkage right here, this cable linkage actually connects to the head as well, which is connected to that big metal bracket. As you can see, all of this connects to the bottom of the head. So there's a tiny little bolt up under there, right about there. So that is connected to the bottom of the head. So I'm gonna have to undo that and then I can probably pull the head off. Alright guys, so I got those bottom two linkage bolts off that came off of right there. You can kind of see the little nub right there where the bolt goes. But the only thing holding it on now is the exhaust. So unfortunately, I am gonna have to undo the exhaust, at least on this. I don't know. Probably both sides, but hopefully I can get away with doing just this one side. The head's almost off. You can see the dowel pins now, and it wiggles. Yeah guys, so as I suspected, we got the head off finally. Push rods are over there. Exhaust gasket actually fell into the oil bucket, which is not great, but you can see right here where all of the combustion was escaping because there was no gasket right there. Look down here, you can visibly see the broken gasket right there. And I'll pull that off and show you all the actual thing right now. So yeah, here's the old head gasket. It started leaking here, and then just from it running so long with, like, it just got worse and worse. But yeah, there's our issue right there. Now we're gonna have to go buy a new one. Guys, so we got a bunch of different gaskets right here. Just came with a pack of them. But the head gasket's what we need. Here is the package it's in. Went ahead and flat filed the surface of the head to get all the gasket material off. I recommend either doing that very gently or Scotch Brighting, using red Scotch Brite to clean off the surface of the head before you put your new gasket on. And yeah, we're gonna get this thing put back in there. All this now really is left is to put the gasket back on. Make sure you have mine somewhere around here, but both dowel pins right here in the correct place, which the threads should be kind of different. You see how there's a smooth seating right here, so you should be able to tell where they go. I wouldn't even recommend pulling them out if you can help it. All right guys, very important step. Make sure that before you put your bolts back in for your head, after you replace your gasket, make sure that when you lift your head up, you put your exhaust gasket back on the studs. Then you can set your head down against the exhaust, and then you can bolt your head back to your engine. So I forgot to do that just now, and I had to undo all of the bolts. So make sure the exhaust gasket goes on before you tighten the head down. Got all the head bolts hand tightened back on. This said to install the gasket with the serial number, or the part number, facing up, so facing towards you. You should see a number facing towards you on the gasket. That's how you put it on. Now we're gonna torque these bolts down. You're gonna want to torque them down starting at 200 inch-pounds or 16 foot-pounds. 200 inch-pounds, which is around 15 to 16 foot-pounds. Pretty sure it's like 16 or so. And then you're going to go tighten them all up again with 370 inch-pounds, which is 30 foot-pounds. We've tightened them all up at 15 foot-pounds. Now we've bumped the wrench up to 30. Focus. 30 foot-pounds right there. Now we're going to torque these up again. Alright, so now we have the exhaust bolts tightened up on both sides. These 2 linkage bolts put back in. Thank you for tuning in. I hope this was a helpful video for y'all and it went along smoothly for your experience. Mine wasn't honestly as bad as I was expecting, but thank y'all for watching. Subscribe, like the video, turn that bell on for more videos in the future, and y'all have a blessed day.